Well, Facebook family, what's going on? It's your main man, Joe Dupree, 100 BLK, the Black Station, along with my good friend, Edward J. Brown from Positive Choices
brother.
Purpose. And we are in the building on this third day of May for another Wellness Wednesday where a healthy you
is a better you.
Yeah, that part right there with the golden mic. I'm saying.
Hey man, listen. I've been here for 2.5 years watching you with that amazing looking setup you got over there. So I went and spent a few dollars. You know, I spent certain things when you see it, you know, you say that's the one right there.
That's it.
So when I saw the black and gold mic, I'm like, well, you know, that's it. You know,
that's it. Enough said. This is the third day of May. After the day after the second day of May, I would be remiss to once again not wish my youngest son, Kai Malik Anderson, a happy
birthday, Prince. Happy birthday, Prince.
Yeah, the young king is running track and having fun, and 15 times around the sun, and hopefully a whole bunch more to go.
A lot more, man. A lot more.
So look, we've been talking about substance abuse, and so a person sent me a whole email. I'm going to forward Edward the email about how we talk about the grief. So we have a systematic way of doing things, and like we always say, because we've been doing this about 2 years, going on 3 years, really.
Yep.
That the truth about the matter is, we let you, the people, decide what y'all want us to talk about, and we get engaged in those conversations because many a times in our community, mental health is taboo. It's something that folk don't want to talk about. It's something that is seldom even spoken about. And we want to put a spotlight on mental health because depression, suicide, and mental health issues are at an all-time high in communities of Black and brown folks. Absolutely. I mean, right now, just think about what happened in the last, let's say 72 hours. Situation that happened in Texas.
Yeah. We can talk about what's happened in the last 5 hours.
Look, just happened in Atlanta.
Right.
That is putting a mental health strain and crisis on people, that people are like, my God, I can't even go to work. What might happen next? All this stuff playing around in your head, and you with no outlet to talk about it, can cause depression, paranoia. It can cause a smorgasbord of things. So we have started the conversation about substance abuse. We will continue that conversation because the last time we were on, I think we really laid the table to make people understand that you can abuse a lot of stuff.
Stuff you can buy right there in the local supermarket.
Right.
Well, you know, brother, I really was so excited about this topic, you know, and I think we really hit the ground running last week.
Right.
But you know, this mass shooting thing is in the forefront of my mind. So before we get into the issue of substance abuse and addiction, I have to purge myself for a second.
Come on.
Because you know, every time we have one of these mass shootings, you and I say the same thing, and that's until the next time.
Right.
You know, we'll talk and talk and talk until the next time.
Correct.
And here we are at the next time.
Correct.
So one of the things for me that was so overwhelming for me was they had a shooting at a school in the Ukraine, I think it is. And
wait a minute. I know where they had. Hold it. I got to look that up. It wasn't the Ukraine, but it was a neighboring. It was a neighboring country. I think it was Serbia. Serbia.
All right. So the thing that absolutely floored me was when this man came on, and of course there's interpreters, and he said, this kind of thing never happens here.
Right.
He said, this happens on television when we're watching the United States. If that, we're gonna stop for a minute because I don't think people understand what he just said. He said, this is what we see on television that happens in the United States. So we are the standard for mass shooting in the world. You know, when that dude, I was literally getting my stuff ready to come to get ready for the podcast. And I literally put my stuff down and turn around and I rewound the television. And I watched that 2 or 3 times. He said, this just doesn't happen here. This is what we see on television that happens in the United States.
Wow.
So when you are the standard for mass shootings, you do not think that it's time to do something? I have a saying that I used to always say, because, you know, I've been blessed enough to travel, you know, all over from Europe to throughout the whole Caribbean and just all over. I've been blessed.
All right.
And I usually always say, the United States is still the greatest country in the world. And I have a partner of mine, he always say, I don't know about that no more, B. And, you know, for that man to say, this is what we see on the news in the United States.
Correct.
Made me kind of ashamed to say, you see, because we sit around and say African, but we also throw American at the end of it.
Correct. Very much so.
So we can't detach ourselves from this country when it ain't popular.
Right. So let me say this, because I've lived in Europe. I have a son that's half European. Gun laws are different in Europe.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Here, everybody has the right to bear arms. Throughout
but they don't even understand what that means.
See, no, because I'll be very honest with you. In most European countries, here's the deal. If you're not law enforcement or military, you cannot purchase a gun.
I understand.
It's not necessary. You can't unless you are a proven avid hunter or somebody who literally nobody in Europe. If you not the police or the military and you have a weapon, you normally
especially not a military style weapon.
Right. You normally a bad person, a very bad person, because the only people outside the police and the military that has guns in Europe are normally criminals, real bad criminals, because they just don't have the rights that we have here, that everybody can just go buy a gun, you know, of legal age. No, that's not happening in Europe. That is not happening.
You know, but what is it going to take? And I really am sitting here and I'm ready to get into the topic, because I feel like
hold it. We need to talk about it, because somebody just sent me a message and asked that same question. You know, until we address that,
I'm so tired of having the same conversation, though.
I mean, there is literally every day somebody due to gun violence is getting killed in this country. And sometimes we have to, you know, okay, so when it's not convenient to talk about gun legislation, because then folks want to argue that guns don't kill people, people kill people.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they put a major insult on your profession by trying to say all of a sudden it's mental health. Well, if it's so much mental health, why'd you cut all the mental health funding from a federal level?
Why you keep cutting the mental health budget?
Right. And let's just call who been cutting it. So, okay, hold on. So when folks jump up and say, yeah, look what Biden did. No, Biden didn't start the cutting of the mental health. It was some people with a big R and an elephant representing their party. Those the folks that said, wait a minute, it's just y'all just giving too much money to these social services. And, you know, okay, now I will say this on the conservative side. And if you're progressive and you don't like me because I say this, well, God forbid, give me a call. We can have a discussion. I believe if you're receiving any type of social services, you should, on a regular basis, be seeking a way to stop getting those social services.
It's not a lifestyle, it's an assistance.
Right. It is not a lifestyle, it is an assistance. So I do believe in some of the conservative views when they say, hey, if I'm shelling out all this money, but you're not even attempting to try to go to work, we got a problem. I believe there should be a time limit, or there should be some parameters that you should verify that you're at least looking for work. because some
Now,
folks know how to pimp the system on both sides. Wait a
now
minute.
we're not talking about, SSI if you have disability or things like
Right,
that.
right.
We
No, no,
should
no.
take care of our less fortunate in this country. We're
Right,
talking about things like welfare and food stamps. Those things were put
right,
in place to assist, to
right.
help,
And that
not
causes
to be a lifestyle. We had a discussion in my class the other day where I made the comment, I believe every student, if you are in college, you should automatically get food stamps. If you are a college student, you should get food stamps. Now, we're talking about assistance programs,
right,
not programs for the elderly or programs for, the people with disabilities. We're talking about individuals who fall in hard times. They need assistance like welfare, food stamps. Then that's fine. They should be more than able to get that. We're talking about the multi-generational individuals who have decided that this is a lifestyle and not
correct,
just a hand up. It's
correct,
not a handout, it's a hand up.
correct.
And if they get offended because we say, well, we believe you should. It was funny because I'll tell you the time where I got looked at like I was absolutely out of my mind. It was when David Duke was running for governor. David Duke made a comment that he said, I believe if you're on welfare and you're under the age of a particular age, he said, you should apply for at least one job a week.
Right, I agree with that.
Now wait, see, you gonna get that look that I got. They was like, you do understand David Duke is the grand wizard of the Ku Klux Klan.
I didn't say I liked the messenger, but I did like the message. Hold up. So see, that's where I got to say it. And if you want to call in, welcome to call in. Our phone lines are wide open. You can join in on this conversation too, because you might say, y'all need some help. Somebody say, wait a minute, what did this person say? Sorry, but the legislators won't truly address the gun problems until their family members become victims and fearful. Mr. Mitchell, I
100%
agree with you more. But okay.
It's not a problem. What we didn't have a war on drugs till it hit the suburbs.
Right. So let's just be real about it. Hold on. And let's just say something. People who live in prosperity seldom understand the problems of poverty. And people in poverty seldom understands the problems of prosperity. Because watch this. Life is hard regardless if you're poor or if you're rich. Hold on. I said it. And if you don't like it, you can call in and we can talk about it. But the truth about it is, if you got some money and you got problems, your problems just from a financial point of view might be a little easier. But you still, wait a minute, people still committing suicide.
Correct.
People still committing crimes. People still doing all kind of wrongdoing and malice, and they are multimillionaires.
Yeah.
So money doesn't
unfortunately, guns are a multi-billion-dollar industry in this country as well.
Right.
But
I mean,
we were able to regulate things like alcohol. We started talking about addiction last week, and it was easy for us to say that there's going to be regulations to that as well. Just because marijuana is legal doesn't mean you're going to be able to smoke as much weed as you want and drive a vehicle, smoke as much weed as you want and go to work. Because the same way there's a breathalyzer for alcohol, they're going to come up with ways of measuring how much marijuana is in your system and when it was put there. So
hold it. Brother Brown, I can tell you right now, there are prescription medication that you might need to take for whatever, an infection. You could have chronic pain. There is medication that is prescribed by a doctor that is FDA approved, that if you take it and operate a vehicle or some heavy equipment or any equipment of any kind, and something happens that causes injury to somebody else, you will be held liable.
Absolutely. But we have to get to this point with guns because it's killing our children.
Right. Come on. We had a 9-year-old. A 9-year-old is today not breathing because some individual said, could you please stop shooting the gun? You're scaring the baby. And this man, regardless of if he was evil, if he had a mental health snap, Whatever happened, this man went in and shot everybody, execution style,
Correct.
and then ran off
So,
and hid behind a closet and some clothes.
now, I had a call today, and this is how I found out about the mass shooting today. My brother calls me and he says, "Man, our country it's messed up." I said, "What's going on?" He said, "It's mass shooter." He said, "And here's the problem I have. People say, well, they're mentally ill, but they're not crazy enough to not evade law enforcement."
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So you're mentally ill enough to shoot up a school, but you're not mentally ill enough to evade, so that it's wrong.
Right.
So my problem with this is, I am so tired, and I know I say it every time. I'm tired of talking about it because we're just talking about it until the next time.
Correct.
So I find myself making phone calls. I find myself reaching out to people. And I'm like, the same way we did driver's license for children.
Come on.
Same way we did for alcohol. The same way we did for tobacco. Why can we not put in place regulations and guidelines that can protect our children?
Well, here's the reason why, Brother Brown. And I'm going to say this from a point of view that I think I can say this from. Number one, the legal age to drink in the state of Louisiana is 21. However, the legal age to the legal age to sign up and defend this country and become a patriot,
correct,
is 18. I got a problem with that. I got a problem.
You can fight for this country, but you can't have a beer.
Right. You can fight for this country. So our problem is, and as one of the brothers said, and the problem leads with this keyword, legislation. Now, what does that problem lead to? Another problem that we have as people of black and brown color, especially in Louisiana and Mississippi. We don't go vote. Okay, so I said it. If you don't like it, call in. We can discuss it. But we don't go vote. Here's what we do. We complain. We fuss. We go on social media. If we went to the polls, if black folk, not black and brown folk, not Hispanic folk, not folks who look like us, who are not African American, but if black folks, if the black folks went to the polls as much as they went on social media, if you would go vote, register to vote and push, I'm just saying, if you would, I see your brother Stephen. Brother Stephen said thumbs up on that one. I understand. I'm just saying, if we would go and vote and get into the issues as much as we get on social media.
Yeah, well,
your vote is your voice, and your voice has power. A voteless people is a hopeless people. Y'all so busy trying to get registered, y'all don't understand. It's one thing to be on the roll. It's another thing to show up to the polls.
Exactly. So, we look at, like this brother said, it's not a problem until it hits a particular community. But everyone felt Sandy Hook when we saw these baby coffins being hauled off to their final resting place. It didn't make you feel we need to do something about guns of mass destruction. Now let me put my feeling out here on that issue. I don't have a problem with people owning guns. I own several myself. Right. But here's the problem I have. Guns like AK-47s, AR-15s, these military-style assault weapons are intended for one reason and one reason only, and that's to kill a lot of people real fast. Civilians do not need AR-15s, AK-4. They do not need. Now, you want a shotgun, you want your revolvers, your 9mm. I can't, and I have no problem with that. But when we start talking about guns that have clips that hold 35 and 40 rounds, we need to be more selective with who we allow to purchase these type of weapons.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to blow your mind right quick. I want you to bookmark what you just said. While you were saying that, I went ahead and Googled mass shootings since the year 2000. So I want to just give y'all a few numbers, and
It's
then
160 just this year alone.
hold on. I'm just going to give you some numbers. In 1999, I'm going to give you the name of the places that this happened: Tampa, Florida; Honolulu; Fort Worth, Texas; Atlanta, Georgia; Littleton, Colorado. There was 42 people dead and at least 47 injured. That's 1999. Okay. As I continue to move forward, I'm just going to give you some random dates. The year 2008, good year for me. 17 dead, 24 injured. Henderson, Kentucky, DeKalb, Illinois, and Kentwood, Missouri. But watch this. Watch this, family. I just want you to hear this. 2017, 117 dead in places like Sutherland Spring, Texas; Thornton, Colorado; Las Vegas; Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I mean, and right now, where we at right now? Hold up, I don't have those numbers yet, but family, and out of these, you talked about Parkland. No, you didn't talk about Parkland. You talked about Sandy Hook.
Mm-hmm.
Sandy Hook should have made us all say, we got to do something. Yeah. No more kids.
These were babies.
Right. No
Second
more
and third graders.
Hold it. Since Sandy Hook, I'm going to Google this while you're talking. I'm going to let you continue to talk. But I want to see how many school shootings have we had since Sandy Hook. Just out of curiosity. I
can imagine, but the problem is that what will it take for us to say enough is enough? That's what you have to look at yourself, and you have to say, okay, we're cutting the as soon as, and then I guess this is where it touches home for me. As soon as we have one of these mass shooters, the first thing they address is the shooter's mental health. This is a society that we live in where things that are getting cut are things like mental health, health care for the elderly. And when you start to see mentally ill people and their anxiety levels go up because they're cut off from their medication, they're cut off from their counseling, they're cut off from their treatment. These mass shootings and these people reacting because guns are too easily accessible.
Wow.
It is time, and we've been saying it since we started this podcast over almost 3 years ago. It is time to stop being reactive and start being proactive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Stop cutting mental health. Stop making it difficult for people to get treatment. And I am preaching from an office where I have to tell people regularly, well, they cut you off of Medicaid. So you can't get your medication. Now, I don't try to be a saint, but it is very difficult for me to look someone in their face and say, you can't get services because, well, we're not going to get paid.
Right.
I mean, 33 years in this field.
That's hard for you to do it. That's hard for you to do.
But I know when I come up on these legislators and I look in there and look at them and I see them constantly talking about, well, what we're trying to do is what you're trying to do is not take care of the people who call themselves Americans in this country who need service. Canada, free health care. Cuba, a communist country, free health care. Free education. Free education in Canada. So I'm no longer throwing that title of the greatest country in the world out there as loosely as I did before. In order to be the greatest country in the world, to me, you have to take care of the people that live there in that country.
Well, I Googled.
And when I say take care of them, I mean protect them. I mean protect them as well.
Right. Okay. So I don't know how many of y'all remember this place called Columbine. Okay.
Hey, listen. That was the first one that made mass news. Columbine, yeah.
Since Columbine, per the Washington Post, there has been 380 school shootings. 380 school shootings. I don't even have the number of the. Hold on, let me see when was this posted. It has been
Wow.
over. Hold on, let's see what the timeline ends at. Yeah, it has been since Columbine. There has been 380 school shootings. Family, listen. So then there are folks who try to say we don't have a gun problem, we got a people problem. Well, if we got a people problem, why are we not putting funding in place to make this people problem into a solution where these people start using these guns and killing other folk? Don't get me wrong. I understand. You can't stop all of it. Nobody can stop all of it. The Bible says the poor will be with us always. The Bible doesn't say this, but I'm pretty sure criminals and crooks will be with us always. But at the end of the day, if you're saying it's not a gun problem and it is a people mental health problem, why then are you not putting the resources and the funding into mental health services and people resolving services, that the people problem is no longer a problem? It's as if you want the problem to exist because the problem somehow another is funding this multi-billion-dollar business called gun sales.
Let me ask you something real quick. Here's a simple question. Why do we not want to take care of the mentally ill?
I have the slightest idea.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, there is a simple question.
I can't answer that question because I don't understand. It's like we used to, when I grew up back in the 70s and the 80s, we had state mental institutions.
They've all shut down.
Where I was at in Tennessee. In Tennessee, we had a place called Bolivar, Tennessee. It was where the state hospital was. You know, as children, we would joke to each other and say, "You acting like that, we go send you to." We had a word.
And then for us in Louisiana, it was Mandeville. We're gonna send you to Mandeville.
Okay.
Or in New Orleans, the psychiatric unit was at the 3rd floor of Charity Hospital, and we was children. They're gonna send you to the 3rd floor. Keep on.
Keep playing.
And all of that's closed down. Mandeville is now no more. There's no more long-term state facilities.
So I understand due to, and look, once again, just like anybody. Okay. So okay, some folk gonna get mad at me, Edward.
All right.
Let me go ahead and say what I need to say. This is my show. I do pay for this airtime. I do pay for all the stuff that does this, and Brother Edward pays too. So I'm gonna say this. It ceases to amaze me that the Catholic Church ain't shut down. After all the abuse scandals, after all the children that said they were taken advantage of, boys and girls, by the priest and by some of the nuns and by some of the people who are in the Catholic Church. Catholic Church ain't shut down. So since I put the Catholics in there, same thing was going on in the Baptist Church, Church of God in Christ, Methodist Church, and other churches. I ain't seen the church shut down. But all of a sudden they talked about mental health, abuse, and this. And don't get me wrong, nobody needs to be abused. Nobody.
Correct.
Nobody. In any shape, form, or fashion. I do not condone it. But since they said that the mental health state hospitals and the mental health system was so bad, they started shutting everything down. So do you shut down? And once again, that all has to do with who knows who at the legislature. Who knows who? See, when you have the right people lobbying and the right money behind the lobbying, then all of a sudden what you want to have done gets done. And that's why we got to start putting the right people in office. And understand this, even when you put the right people in office, Tennessee showed you that. When you put the right people in office, let them do something that pisses off the majority, they'll put them out.
Yep, exactly. We have to stop talking. We are at this point now where we can have this podcast 3 or 4 times a week.
Come on.
And all we're doing is talking.
Come on.
Somebody that's listening to this podcast needs to get to the point where they're like me and they're tired of turning on television and hearing excuses.
Come on.
That's what we're doing. We're hearing excuses. I'm tired of hearing folks talk about, well, yeah, that's messed up, but no, when we have people who are not cognitively able to understand the ramifications of their actions, we need to make sure they have access to quality mental health services. Period. We have children who are afraid to go to school. And we have schools who really, like I see Brother Mitchell said, they don't really care about the students because they're allowing them to go through the system without getting the education that they need. But even if they allow that,
come on,
they should still be safe.
Come on.
And one of the things that I always say when I go to schools and I talk to teachers and I talk to administrators is students should come home from school the same way they went to school physically.
Come on.
Your child should not come home from school stabbed.
Come on. Bullied, beat up.
Bullets. Now they should come home different. As far as knowledge-wise, they should learn something new every day.
Come on.
Make them smarter today than they were yesterday.
Come on.
But what we do is we sit here and we bicker. Think about this. So we started off talking about this by saying we need regulations and guidelines.
Come on.
I don't understand why that's a problem. I know people right now, 12, 13 years old, that can drive. Literally.
Hold on.
They can drive.
Hold on.
Why can't they get a driver's license?
Hold on. So let me understand this. All these shootings, 380 school shootings since Columbine. We can't get no leeway on gun legislation. However, let Ticketmaster mess up some Taylor Swift's tickets. We standing before Congress.
Now, I'm not trying to laugh at you, brother.
That's funny. Say it. Hold on.
Not Taylor Swift.
Hold on.
Not Taylor Swift.
Hold it. Let Taylor Swift tickets not be the way they need to be. Hold up. We standing before Congress. We on TV in front of a congressional committee talking about Ticketmaster, woe be unto you. Woe be unto you, Ticketmaster. But we can't sit and get this thing right when it comes down to situations of children dying due to gun violence.
Yeah.
Come on, family.
It's and until more people like, my brother and Brother Mitchell and Brother Stevenson and Brother Dupree and Brother Brown, until more people get on the bandwagon of we're tired of the next time, we're going to continue to have these shootings.
Right.
Because weapons of mass destruction are too. Now, they didn't say whether this dude had a handgun or whatever. They didn't say. It doesn't matter. What I found to be very interesting. Now, all of us on this podcast, we are mildly logical individuals.
Come on, talk to me.
This brother started shooting in the waiting room. So would it be safe to say that there was some kind of interaction in that waiting room that caused him to have an emotional breakdown?
Either that, or there was somebody in that hospital that he was looking for whatever reason. I'm pretty sure.
But he went there with his mother. He was with his mother.
Hold it. When it all comes out in the wash, we're going to find out the who, what, and the why. But here's what else I done found out, Brother Brown, and I posted this some days ago, and I want people to hear this again. What I have recognized is that most folks are not moved unless there's a check, a bag, of money involved. And that's the truth. That is the absolute positive truth. That's why I applaud you many a times, because I can testify, because I called you yesterday with some individuals who needed something that dealt with mental health. And you did not, your first words out your mouth was not, well, how they going to pay for it? No,
correct.
The first words out your mouth was, here's the number they need to call. I need to know who they coming from. And once they call, we'll move from there. Listen, family, sometimes you got to understand, and don't get me wrong, Brother Brown, for all the work he has done, for all the degrees he has achieved, and for all that he does, he needs to be very well compensated. But the first word out of his mouth was not, How do I get paid? But he asked this. He said, how can I serve? And let me say something.
How can I help?
I don't care. I don't care who you are, where you come from, but it says in many places, let the greatest among you be the servant. How can I help? What can I do to make this situation better? See, somebody checked me a couple of days ago at church, and I hope he's on here. I hope my favorite black Republican friend, my favorite friend who's Republican and happens to be black. Let me stop saying black Republican. People who just happen to be something, but they just happen to be this. Okay, so he checked me about being supposedly a Democrat or a progressive. No, brother, I am not conservative or progressive. I'm in a different party called the Do Right Party, called the We Need to Be Concerned Party. Talking about I want everybody to win party. See, when you're in the Republican Party, all you want to do is see Republicans win. And when you're in the Democratic Party, sometimes all you want to do is see Democrats win. I want to see somebody win who's going to do right by everybody. Can we not get a Do Right Party?
When people start to believe that you are a part of a particular party because of your race, that's insulting. That implies we don't know what the issues are.
Right.
See, I'm a Democrat because the Republicans' issues don't align with what I'm doing.
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
So to say, oh, well, you're a Democrat because you're black, that's insulting.
Right.
See, I'm a Democrat because the Republicans' ideologies don't align with my life.
Ding, ding, ding,
and I look at these, and I'm about to step on some folks' toes. And they can be as angry with me as they want. I'm about to step on. I don't know how you can be a Republican and you poor.
Oh,
okay. I don't understand how you can be a Republican and you poor.
Come on.
Because all of the Republicans' platforms, ideologies will cut out all of these socioeconomic programs. There would be no college Pell Grants and student loans, and there wouldn't be any of that. There wouldn't be any Medicaid and Medicare. So how can you be a Republican and you ain't in the top 1 or 2% of income? Because they're the only ones benefit from these tax breaks.
Come on.
But anyway, I want to get back to, I saw a comment about the NRA.
Right. I'm putting it back up.
And the donation of money.
Right. Come on.
To politicians. What we need to tell politicians is that all money ain't good money.
Woo.
So when you look at the NRA and what they're doing, you cannot support some of that foolishness when it's putting guns in the hands of children. Let me show you what I'm talking about. We had the young brother that bought 2 AR-15s a couple of months ago that did that mass shooting,
right,
and could not buy beer.
Come on.
He was 19 years old, walked into the store, bought 2 AR-15s, and went and shot up that school. Now, that don't make you say, wait a minute, 19? But the NRA would be stomping a hole in your lawn if you came and said, well, we believe there should be a ban on assault weapons.
Well, hold it. And it's because of the reason I put before you. You got to be 21 to drink, but you can be 18. Raise your hand, swear oath to this country, and be put on. Hold it. You can be 18 and put on the front line tomorrow in some godforsaken country.
People don't want to ask. Here's the question I ask all the brothers on this podcast, all the people. Why have assault weapons become so popular? You understand? I'm not standing on this podcast today saying I think we need to do away with guns. Revolvers and automatic 9mm, handguns, hunting rifles. I have no problem with people owning as many of those as they want.
But hold up, brother.
When you start talking about clips that hold 35 or more rounds, that's a weapon that's intended to kill a lot of people real fast. That should be in the hands of people who are going to war.
hold on. But you know them deers out there, they got Kevlar on, man. Hold on.
Man, let me tell you, I ain't saw a deer yet that can stop a regular 22 if you put it in the right place.
Hold on. So wait a minute. Let's talk about this. Here's another thing I think we need to talk about. You need a license to drive, don't you? Can you operate a vehicle without going
Let me say that
class?
Nope.
And training and passing a test to get your driver's license. Here's what I don't understand, and you can say what you want to. First of all, I'm one of the people who believe this. If you can't drink until you're 21, they need to also be very cautious on this serving your country. And now somebody might say that's very unpatriotic, especially coming from you, Joe, because the last time I checked, didn't you join the military at age 18?
Let me help you out. I'm going to help you out. So take what you're saying. They pushed puberty. Puberty now ends at the age of 26. Okay? So my brother said he don't believe that you should be able to sign up for the military until you're 18. Cognitively, you're still a child.
Right.
At 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. This comes from the psychiatric community.
Now, brother,
so why would they look at you sideways if you say, hold on, if you can't join the military till you're 21, you still ain't cognitively ready to what you could possibly see in action.
Okay, so let me say that, because I'm going to tell you from my own personal experience as a former vet. If I go back and look at when I was in, I wasn't ready. See, I can go back and call my own shot. Now you can say, well, Joe, you a little throwed off. No. Most folk from 18 to 21, like you said, there's, and I get it. But at the same time, I think, family, we really got to look at this, because the argument always with the people in power and with the NRA and with those who control the gun legislation is going to be this. Well, you can raise your hand, swear an oath to this country and be a patriot and go to war. You
can't go drink a beer.
Right. And you can't drink a beer in most states, because in most states, the legal age to drink is 21. Now, I think there are some states out there, I'm not sure where they are, that you don't have to be 21 to drink. But in most states, you got to be at least 21 to drink. Now, but there's a difference between federal law and state law. And a lot of this, some folk may listen and say, man, what are you really saying? What I'm saying is this. For all the intelligent folks that are serving in Congress and in the Senate, most of these people have law degrees. Most of these people are highly intelligent. You mean we can't come up with common sense gun legislation to at least make it that a person can get we don't even have universal background checks. We don't even have it. There's so much that could be in place that it may not prevent all of the violence that has occurred, but it would at least be a deterrent, or at least a database where folks can say, okay, what's really going on? So I'm just trying to say simply the following. Family, we got to do better, and we got to do right. This is the sad thing. Everybody here go wah, wah, wah until it's your child. Until it's your child. Until it's your child that's done been a part of this violent spree that's going on in this country. Until your child, either your child is the victim or the villain. Either way, once that happens, all of a sudden, now you want to have the conversation.
Now you want to talk. Well, I am taking an hour out of my life that I'm never going to get back.
Come on.
To talk about something that is passionate to me. We have to stop talking and start doing.
Woo, time for some action.
It's time for some action. So all these individuals that's here and they're talking about, oh yeah, well, you can't take my rights. First of all, what you have to understand is the Second Amendment does not just say, oh, you have the right to bear arms. Know what it actually says.
Right.
It's about tyranny and dictate. If the government came under tyranny, you have the right to defend yourself from the government.
Come on.
That's what the Second Amendment says.
But,
Now I got the right to bear arms.
hey,
It means you have the right to, if the government is violating your human rights, meaning they running up in your house and they taking your wife and your children and they trying to enslave you. Okay. So you have the right to defend yourself from tyranny and injustice of your human rights. That's what it means when it says the right to bear arms. So when we said nobody wants to take your guns, what we want to do is the same thing they did with alcohol, the same thing they did with cars, same thing they did with tobacco. Here's the thing. Everything that they found to be harmful, if misused,
is regulated.
It has regulations. Let's say that again for the people in the back. We have regulations for everything that they feel is harmful if misused, except guns.
Oh, that part. Oh, dope.
Except guns.
Dope.
Now, hey, except guns. We don't have that issue for guns. I remember, now I sit here so that no one can call me a hypocrite or anything. I remember when I bought my AR-15.
Come on.
Okay. I went to the store and I was like, I'm going to buy an AR-15 because I'm going to go to the shooting range. So when I went in, the guy said, I want to get an AR-15. And I knew the guy, thank goodness, he worked at the sporting shop. He said, Mr. Brown, what do you want it for? I said, what do you mean? He said, I'm asking, like, is it for home protection? Is it for sport? I said, well, I never thought about it like that. I'm buying it because I wanted one.
Okay.
He said, well, okay. I said, but probably for home defense. He said, if you're going to buy something for home defense, don't buy an AR-15.
Buy
a shotgun.
Right. Buy a shotgun or buy a pistol.
That's what he said. He said, buy a shotgun. He said, I'm going to show you the shotgun. I suggest. He pulls out this Mossberg and tells me about Mossberg and all this kind of stuff. And he looked. Now, keep in mind, I went in there for an AR-15.
Come on.
I walked out of there with shotgun, grateful for this brother who told me, he said, this is not what you need for home defense. Now, a month later, I went back in there because I still wanted this AR-15.
Right.
Yeah. So wait, he said,
because it's my right.
That's
and
right.
If I want it, I'm going to get it.
And this is what he said. He said, you back? I said, yeah. I said, I'm going to get this AR-15. He said, what gun club are you in? I said, well, I have some guys that I know and they go to the range. He said, okay. He said, this is what you're going to need. He showed me the sight, the scope, all of this stuff. He said, if y'all going to the gun range, you don't need these expensive bullets. Get you some cheap bullets. And he was very knowledgeable and informative. Now, he also was former law enforcement.
Okay.
He had just retired.
All right.
And he told me, he said, be sure that when you go to this gun range with this gun club, that they teach you gun safety.
Right.
I said, I will.
Listen, everybody, here's one thing I feel. Everybody who legally purchased a gun in the United States of America should go to at least one class and go to the gun range, and where a professional person can show them how to load, unload, and do certain things with their weapon, because weapons do malfunction. And see, what folks don't know is statistically, more folks get killed with their own weapon than the intruder coming in with their weapon. Listen, family, we got to come down with some common sense gun legislation that these mass shootings end. Once again, I'm pretty sure there's somebody out there that can buy a tank.
Why can't we buy a tank?
Right. You know, I'm pretty
Or
sure
a
there's somebody.
submarine. What if
I'm
I want to buy a submarine?
right. You know, I'm pretty sure somebody out there got enough money right now to go buy a sub or go buy
But they
F-15.
can't.
But
No
the
matter how
question
much
is,
money they got, they
right?
can't.
So watch this. If you can't buy that, come on, listen, family. We just got to wake up, and we
Yeah.
got to understand your vote
Okay.
is your voice, and your voice have power. Don't let folks try to tell you your vote don't count. And stop this. Just because there's somebody who don't look like you on the ballot. I love President Obama. I had the awesome opportunity to get to see him speak at McKinley High in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I actually got to ask him a question in a press conference. Listen, I'm not saying we're not going to have another Obama. I'm not saying we're not going to have another Kamala Harris. But guess what, family? Just because people don't look like you, have your hue, be a person of melanin. Guess what? We got to start getting with folks that have the right philosophy, because guess what? All skin folk ain't kinfolk.
Ooh.
Okay.
All right.
Prime example, my good friend, Mr. Scott down in South Carolina. He's skin folk, but he ain't my kinfolk. I would never vote for him. Never. He looked
That
like
brother right
Mushmouth.
there.
He looked like Mushmouth from Fat Albert.
I said the same thing. I said, doesn't he look like the dude from Fat Albert?
I believe
I thought it was just me.
Abba gonna vote her for everything that the conservative will want her. That's what I believe her. Hey, you can vote for them today. Oh, come on, family. Come on.
Man.
And then Nikki Haley really got me. I understand she a woman of color, but she ain't black and brown like us. She Indian. She remind me a great deal of Bobby Jindal here in the state of Louisiana. So family, wake up. Stop letting them fool you. Stop letting them make you feel like, oh, these people are for you because they just like you. No, they not just like you. Because guess what? If you wasn't born in the hood, raised in the hood, and went through hood stuff, you don't know what's going on in the hood. You only know what you heard about the hood. You don't know how it feels. You don't know how it feels to eat ramen noodles if you never ate them before. You don't know how it feels to tear food stamps out of a food stamp book if you've never did it before. Okay. You don't know how it feels.
All right. Now you give me
your grandparents or your parents' education made it that they had to go and work and pick cotton in the field, and they don't even have enough education that all they can do, they can't even drive a car because their education didn't have them to drive a car. Nobody taught them, and you got to walk everywhere. Come on, y'all don't know. You don't know how.
See, what we're gonna do is they're gonna take your microphone from you. You keep talking that talk like that.
They ain't gonna take.
They ain't ready to hear that.
No, listen, they ain't gonna take jack from me because I learned a long time ago. When we own it, we can say what we want to. Oh, I used to work for a black radio station that played black music, that acted like it was about the black community, but it was owned by white folk. And at the end of the day, when I went too far, them same white folk, jumped up and said, let me call you a monkey, but I ain't calling you the N-word, but I called you a monkey. But since I called you a monkey, guess what? Let me find out if legally I can call you a monkey and not get sued. And once they found out they couldn't get sued, they let my monkey tail go.
Here's the thing.
So guess what?
There's a lot of Public Enemy said. Public Enemy said, a brother ain't a brother because of color.
Hold it. Let me get this out my system. Then I'm going to turn the mic over to you. Let me tell y'all something. A lot of y'all listen to a lot of black radio stations playing a lot of black music. Guess what? Them black radio stations ain't black owned. They not. So at the end of the day, y'all can talk all that black power you want to until you start owning some stuff where you can make a call that you need to call and say what you need to say. Stop talking about I listen to so-and-so on such and such. Because the last time I checked, if you look at their media company or the company that owns that entity, they don't look like you and me, nor do half of them have our values. The mic is all yours, sir.
Okay, see, now hold on. My grandfather used to say, if you don't know what to say, just wave your hand. Look. So I'm gonna just kind of close this out, man, real quick by saying, we're at the point now where we have to stop talking. And you're right. I was a employee as well. I worked at a company where I became enlightened one day when I was walking my client out, and I asked her, I said, by the way, what do they charge you to see me? And this was many years ago. We talking in the early 90s, late 80s. She said, $70. I said, they charge you $70 to see me? They only paying me $12. Now, that was a lot of money back then.
Yes, sir.
But it wasn't $70.
No, sir.
And that was me in there with her that whole hour.
Mm.
And out of that whole hour, I didn't get a third of that $70.
Mm.
I remember going home and I said, you know what? I can do this for myself. And all of the $70 will be mine.
Come on. Preach, brother. Preach.
You know what I mean? So you're right. To be able to own something, to be able to own something, to be a part of something that's yours is what we need to strive for.
Amen.
The same way we have to strive and do whatever we need to protect our children.
Come on.
Now, I'm going to say this to you, and if it don't reach you on it's politically what you need to do, then maybe it will adhere to your side, the nurturer in you. We have to protect our children. And the best way to protect our children is put people in office that have the same ideology about protecting our children that we have.
Amen.
You understand? So if this dude is not, I don't care if he's your friend, I don't care if he's your family, if he is not on the same page of doing by any means necessary to protect our children, then he ain't the man for the job.
Right. He or she.
He or she. Until we stop, and that brother said it earlier, when it comes knocking on your door, and it's your child that's out of school, and you don't know if your child is the one that got out or didn't get out, then it becomes a little bit more real that we need to do something to protect our children and provide the services to the mentally ill that they need. Now, so that anybody want to come for me, I ain't hard to find. I never ran as a brother on here. I ain't never ran a day in my life. Here's the thing. You have to decide who, and you can't stay on the fence. You got to pick a side.
Right.
You got to pick a side. I'm saying it right now. You need to find someone who have the ideologies you have and vote for that person.
Amen.
In regards to the mentally ill, if I wasn't a service provider,
come on,
I would feel the way I feel. The same way I feel about the elderly, mentally ill, and children. We need to take care of them.
Amen.
Now, let me show you another issue where people look at me with their good eye. Military, police officers, firemen, and school teachers need to be the highest paid people on the planet. Because not everybody going over there and fight against somebody that they don't know.
Amen.
All right. Ain't nobody going. I said, you ever burn your finger, Brother Dupree?
Yes, sir.
So imagine running into a whole house that's on fire. I ain't doing it. If that brother right there gonna do it, pay him. Whatever he want, pay him. And these people spend more time with our children at these schools than we do.
Come on.
By the time we send them to school, they come home from school, it's time to feed them, give them a bath, put them in bed, send them the next day. So you don't want to pay that woman because that woman disgruntled. They disgruntled because they're not getting paid enough. So we got to pay these folks. We got to take care of the people who provide mental health services and quit cutting, chopping, making it difficult because they're running up in buildings and they're shooting people because they cannot get the treatment that they need. They cannot get the medication that they need. We need people to take a stand for people who can't stand up for themselves, the elderly, the mentally ill, and children. If that don't register in your heart, get off this podcast. This ain't the one for you because we're doing stuff.
Amen.
We're doing things. We're trying to make a difference.
Amen.
And right now, There's a lot of people that's not getting the services that they need, and they're suffering right here in the greatest country in the world. Okay. So
Amen.
on that note, my brother, we didn't even talk about addiction or substance abuse. Like we said we was going to do our 3-part series. We got carried away about this.
Hey, and it needed to be said, because we got people on here, and here's what I infer to everybody on here. Share this with a friend. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and continue the conversation. We just started the conversation. There's some good friends of mine, they call themselves conversation starters. So we done started this conversation, and we need y'all to take the flame and the fire and continue with it. Because at the end of the day, listen, family, a lot of you don't understand, and a lot of you do understand. We've got to do better when it comes down to exercising our right to vote. And understand, here's why. Your vote is your voice, and your voice has power. There's a reason why they say a voteless people is a hopeless people. And understand this. If you don't go vote, they know. They have analytics. They have graphs. They know who votes and who don't vote. So watch this. If you don't go vote, and I'm the person who makes the laws, and the people who voted me in office, the people who I know have the power, and everybody has that power, just everybody doesn't exercise that power, because we exercised it in the Obama years. That's why Obama got put in office. It was because of the black and brown vote that got Obama in office. And then once Obama left, we just decided to stop voting. That's how other folk got in office. I ain't gonna name no names. I ain't gonna give no numbers, but Billy D. Williams used to say, I just want a cold Coke 45. But nevertheless, if we don't mess around, because we're on 46 right now, 47 might not be somebody we really need to have in office, because once again, when you fall asleep at the wheel, accidents happen.
Yep.
And there's consequences. There's
consequences. Brother, I give y'all my word. We will pick up next week on our part 2 of a 3-part series on addiction and substance abuse. And, we always say every week, if nobody else told you in this crazy world today, we love you. Till next week, peace. We out.